I just want to know how excited you are, or just what your feelings are about Michael Jordan being part of this broadcast. What are your feelings about that? How do you think that's gonna go? What are you looking forward to about that?
The exclusivity of it, mainly because he's not going to be on a ton. He's going to be a special contributor, and it's going to be segments that are going to be worthwhile. And I think what's cool about it is I think anything that Michael Jordan does, it's not going to be ordinary. Like I remember when Michael lended his likeness to NBA 2K, and that was significant because when we were growing up, we played Player 99 on NBA Live. He
Right.
had a separate licensing deal where he wasn't part of the Players Association's movement with the games, and then voila, the first time you actually play with Michael Jordan as a player on the game, I remember was when I played NBA Live later on in the 2000s when he was a member of the Wizards, or when you played 2K and he was a member of the Wizards. And then here we are again, something as a special contributor that just stands out. We've seen so many legends or uh, champions or retired players who have done television, and at nauseum they've talked about the GOAT conversation. And I think that is getting they got to find something else, and who better but the person that they're using as the pedestal to, or the comparable player than the man himself and Michael Jordan, who can lend his voice. From folks that I've spoken with, it's more of special segments. It's not every week. It's every so often. So I would imagine you'd see him like Christmas segments. You'd see him New Year's segments. You'd see him maybe at the beginning of the year. He's literally the visiting professor at NBA and NBC, and from everyone that I've spoken to. And I think it's significant because for years you've seen Charles Barkley, Shaq, uh, people who are Hall of Famers who were peers of his come on television, and now you're seeing Michael himself, and Michael ain't coming out there for free. You got to pay a check, but I think it's great for because it allows young people, to not forget who he was. I think when you look at um, basketball and you look at the 70s and the 80s, like Dr. J, legend, Magic Johnson, legend, but some young people see Dr. J as a coach at the big three, and
Mm,
their parents tell them about his significance. You can't step away from Magic because he's he was the president of basketball operations, and you know him for business, but he did play in the NBA. And I think because he's a Laker, for a Laker lifer, you can't forget him. But Michael, you can't forget him because the kids have the Jordan ones, but
right.
his significance and his voice is so limited. Now you get to see him in real time, and I think it's great for just the NBA and NBC, who pedestaled him and who platformed him as the face, and he was, and he still is.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think even with this being the era of players having podcasts. Obviously, we're in a whole new media era in terms of players having their own platform. Carmelo Anthony being one of them who's doing really well. And he's on that broadcast with NBC as well. And he was a Jordan athlete. He's got a relationship with Mike. So things like that, I think, will help with the making the broadcast really genuine. And you're right. Like I'm sure. I hope people are cognizant enough to know it's not going to be like the TNT crew. It's not going to be Mike up on a panel every week. They're going to be special appearances, which is what I expected. Michael stays relevant also because the GOAT conversation always involves him, and so his name and his aura still keeps him relevant. But he doesn't. He hasn't added to it because he stays so private, and the things that he says to people on the side or by text or on the golf course usually makes its way to the first take or Twitter or something where it's like, oh, Michael told me this about this guy and Michael said this about that guy. And now it's like, let's just get Michael's firsthand account. Let's ask him straight up. I saw a quote floating around out there, maybe not a quote, but just kind of I guess an account or a story coming from him in terms of what he's bringing to the broadcast. And I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of like he looks forward to celebrating the players of today, the play style of today. He's not coming in, Barkley and them kind of get a bad rap for criticizing, the modern game so much and stuff. And we've kind of gotten accustomed to that from like our old head legends and stuff. And from what I saw from that little piece, of just again paraphrasing of something that he said, he kind of put it out, I guess, as a message, but he looks forward to more so celebrating the modern game, and I think that'll be pretty cool too.
Yeah, and you mentioned the golf course. Jason Williams, former net, you know him well. I know him from my childhood. He appeared on Scoopy Radio back in the spring, and shared with me that he and Charles Oakley uh, spent some time with Michael on the golf course, and he talked about how Michael told him that LeBron would be relevant and active in today's era. And it's interesting because you talk about all the old heads. Like the day before I dropped the interview, I called Charles Oakley and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know." He goes, "What did he say?" Talking about Jason. He goes, he
Uh-oh.
said that Michael said that LeBron would be relevant in the era, and Oakley said, "Yeah, he did say it." And
Mm.
he reiterated to me that this was Charles Oakley on the phone. He said to me that Michael gets a bad rap because people think he just hates everybody, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I think number one, Oakley confirming that story, but number two, and talking to some of Michael's other peers, the way he's painted versus the way he actually is, it depends on who you ask.
Hmm.
Because some have more to say than others, but for some, it's the fact that he doesn't hate that era, but his level of competition with, or when I say that era, I mean he doesn't hate the current era,
Hmm.
but as far as the people who were his peers in his day, they may tell a different story, and there
Right.
may be some four-letter words that are in that lexicon when you have conversations on the phone or text or what have you. I won't name names, but there are guys you get a mixed bag of different people who say different things.
Do you get a sense that there really is some kind of, I mean, I know there's competition and you're always, I mean, a guy like that, even learning a bit more about his nature, for people learning more about his nature in The Last Dance and just how competitive he truly is. Some feel like Michael is still in competition, like with LeBron. Like the last thing he wants is for LeBron to, get six rings or be considered greater than him or anything. Do you get the sense that that's like a real thing from Michael to LeBron and vice versa?
Yes.
Say more. Sorry to break up this video. Just wanted to pop in real quick and say thank you for watching and supporting. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe to Basketball Society and stay tapped in with more of our basketball content on YouTube.
So I didn't play. However, I have journalist peers as an example, and I can say that there are some journalists who are older than me who, on my climb up, they saw something in me and they went extra hard in the way that they acted, the way they treated me, the way that they were. It was almost like their level of rites of passage because I think that there's a lot of I think bullies bully and bullies bully because they were bullied, and I think that they think that that is the way to go about the person who is next. And I think Kobe went through that. I don't think I know. I've had conversations with people who have said that when Kobe was a Laker, and I'll go back to your LeBron question, but I remember when Kobe was a Laker and was on that team, and he was 17 years old when he signed with that team, and there were guys that were 27, 28, 29, 25, and would want to go out, and Kobe just wanted to stay in his hotel room and watch film, and wanted to just be his own man. And a lot of those older people felt threatened by Kobe because it's like, well, do you think you're better than us that you
Mm,
can't hang out with the guys?
mm,
And in my field, in my genre, I have felt that way. So I think comparatively, I think Michael and LeBron's conversations will enhance more
mm,
when LeBron is towards the end, which could happen sooner rather than later. But because I think for a lot of people, people feel like LeBron was chasing Michael's ghost,
mhm,
which was part of the reason why LeBron never joined the Lakers. Or excuse me, rewind that, which is why LeBron never joined the Chicago Bulls.
Mm.
being from Ohio and the Bulls being, a Central Division team, that's a lot of pressure. It's kind of similar to, Kyrie not joining the Knicks because he grew up watching them and that pressure of the Ewings, the Starks, and all that other stuff. And comparatively, when you look at LeBron and Michael, there's just so much that's being compared and contrasted. And I think when you're no longer seen as a threat, like LeBron could win two more championships, whether that's at Los Angeles, whether he signs somewhere else, whether he gets traded. So I think LeBron's story is still being written. So
Yeah.
you don't want to give your competitor any type of advice to chase me, meaning Michael.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think that's so fair and spot on. And obviously you have talked to people close to the situation, so that's why I always value your insight. I will say, Brandon, I feel like naturally it probably felt easier for Michael to embrace Kobe in a certain way because Kobe wasn't just chasing him. Kobe modeled his entire game after him. I mean, I feel like Michael just naturally had to respect and embrace Kobe in a certain way because he had to respect his play style because he played just like him. He walked, he wore the armband on the left arm. I mean, you don't pay homage any better than what Kobe did for Michael. And so I think when it got to a certain point, I feel like it was just probably a little easier for him to I feel like Kobe was probably really aggressive about it too. I feel like Kobe was the type to be like, "Nah, bro, you will be my big brother. Like you will be my mentor. Like I want to surpass you, but like I look up to you too much." I feel like LeBron as a specimen and his play style, I feel like it I don't know. I feel like LeBron's aura was projected even earlier to like surpass Michael. Like the comparisons weren't so much about their games. It was just because LeBron was on his way to becoming one of the greatest and he's gonna chase the guy at the top.
Michael came into the NBA with not the same fanfare that LeBron came into. Um, like when Michael first came to the league, uh, Michael wasn't looked at as the chosen one. Michael was kind of to me was like Wemby coming into the league and earning his stripes and paying homage and being respectful, or kind of like
Mm-hmm.
Giannis before that he won a championship and was kind of going through Miami and had
Mm-hmm.
to earn his way. LeBron was heralded since high school,
Yeah.
so it's different. To me, LeBron was heralded since high school and going to the league. The only comparison that I could make that's somewhat tangible is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar winning on every level, from
Mm-hmm.
Powell Memorial all the way to UCLA to the Bucks to the Lakers. Lou Alcindor to the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Chronicles. And I think that with the Kobe and Michael anecdote that you gave, I've heard conflicting stories on that. So I've heard I've heard people say that Michael gave Kobe a hard time at first because, or rather vice versa. I heard that did I say that? Michael gave Kobe a hard time at
Mm-hmm.
first because he wanted to be like him. He looked up to him. He chewed his gum like him. He bloused his jersey like him. And that Michael wanted to basically crush his ego
Mm-hmm.
at the door.
Mm-hmm.
Comparatively, when The Last Dance came on, there are people who I have spoken to that have felt as though um, those were alternative facts, the
Mm-hmm.
way that it was painted. And that gets very dicey because God rest the dead. Like even when I ask questions of players about Kobe, you want to be respectful of the fact that he's no longer here and that people don't say things that make things awkward.
Sure.
And I know The Last Dance came out like the spring of 2020 and Kobe's passing was January of 2020. I don't know how much edits went into that. I can't speak to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that Michael had creative control with The Last Dance. Um, and so me just being a reporter and having relationships, I've heard different versions of that story.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like once The Last Dance came out, it turned into Kobe and Michael were friends. And I know early on there were conversations about, who is this guy? Who does he think he is? I don't know what happened later in his career, and I don't know at what point their relationship shifted. I know what The Last Dance told me, but I feel like there's got to be some middle ground there, if that makes sense.
No, that does make sense. And I certainly wasn't implying that like Michael was always the big brother to Kobe. I know I'm again, while they were in the league, I mean, even in the last dance, the All-Star game, he's calling him that little Laker boy. He's like, yeah, he just run around thinking he can do. So you did get a sense of like I wasn't trying to imply that he embraced Kobe all the way and even early
Oh
on.
yeah.
I'm sure it was later. I know I remember, late 2000s, the Celtics championship runs and stuff. I just remember hearing Kobe mention because people would always ask him like, "What's your relationship like with Michael?" Just like they'll ask LeBron now. And eventually Kobe would be like, it got to a point I just remember him having the attitude of like he picks up whenever I call. Like I can talk to him when it got to that point eventually.
And right before Kobe's death, that's the point that Kobe and LeBron were at.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
I
Mm,
be looking out for a very in-depth interview via Scoop B Radio, um, where you'll have there is something there that you'll see it and you'll get it. And LeBron and Kobe were in lockstep, and in fact, Kobe was pretty much a mediator in a lot of senses between
mm.
Kyrie and LeBron.
Okay. I thought you were gonna say LeBron and Michael.
He was a
Okay.
mediator with Kyrie and LeBron in
Okay.
Cleveland
That makes sense.
because he was looking for those mentors early in his career,
Hmm.
and guys were kind of lukewarm on him. When Kobe got into a position and people were coming to him for help, it was like his older self um,
Hmm.
paying homage to his younger self.
Hmm. Hmm. Fascinating.
Because a lot of older guys were intimidated by Kobe, from
Yeah.
all accounts from people that I have spoken with over the years.